Okay, let's unpack this. For centuries, a particular Sanskrit composition has resonated deeply with seekers and enthusiasts, well, pretty much around the globe.
It really has, hasn't it?
It's majestic, it's energetic, it often leaves listeners just captivated, and it's called the Shiva Tandav Stotra. You very likely encountered its powerful rhythm, maybe without even knowing its name, given how widespread it is. But it's so much more than just a powerful piece of music or, a chanted verse.
Absolutely.
It's a profound portal into an ancient spiritual worldview, just brimming with layers of meaning waiting to be discovered.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how something so widely heard, so appreciated on a, let's say, surface level, often holds these immense layers of spiritual meaning that, well, remain largely unexplored for many.
That's so true.
Our source material provides an incredible, really illuminating lens to truly understand the intricate spiritual tapestry woven into this powerful composition.
So we're going beyond just hearing it.
Exactly. We're going beyond just the auditory appreciation. Our goal here is to uncover the profound, the transformative spiritual insights embedded within every verse, bringing forth the wisdom that has inspired generations.
That's precisely our mission today. We want to take you on a journey, a real deep dive into the spiritual core of this composition. We'll be examining its true purpose, the immense power it seems to wield, and crucially, how it intimately connects to the universal human experience. Things like devotion, suffering, and ultimately that pursuit of liberation or maybe just deeper understanding.
Yeah, that connection is key.
Our aim is to provide you with those genuine aha moments, to eliminate the subtle yet profound nuances, all without overwhelming you with information.
We hope.
Exactly. This deep dive is designed to be both accessible and hopefully profoundly insightful, inviting you to connect with ancient wisdom in a very personal way. So to kick things off, let's get fundamental. We've heard this powerful piece, maybe even tried to hum along, or perhaps even attempted the words.
Many have.
But what is a stotram in the first place? And what makes this particular one so incredibly special, so distinct in, well, the vast ocean of spiritual compositions out there?
That's an excellent starting point, really, because understanding the form is absolutely key to appreciating its function, its purpose.
Okay.
A stotram, if we truly grasp its essence, is essentially a structured, poetic means of praise. Think of it as a carefully crafted spiritual poem.
Like a hymn.
Exactly like a hymn, or perhaps an instrument of eulogy is another way to put it. It's specifically designed to glorify a particular deity.
Got it. Glorification.
Its primary purpose, as our sources really highlight, is stuti, which simply means adoration, praise. It's not just a collection of beautiful words strung together. It's a powerful, intentional medium. It's meant to invoke the deity's presence, to connect with the divine through heartfelt reverence, and importantly, to seek blessings through sincere praise. It's an active, devotional engagement.
Active, I like that.
Now, what makes this composition, the Shiva Tandav Stotra, particularly unique and, frankly, powerful, is its distinct poetic meter. The Panchamar-vritta.
Panchamar-vritta, okay.
This isn't just some stylistic choice. It's absolutely integral to its impact. This meter is incredibly precise.
How so?
It's characterized by exactly 16 syllables per line, always.
16, wow.
And there's a specific alternating pattern of short and long sounds within those 16 syllables. For instance, the very first line, you probably know it, jaṭāṭavīgalajjalapravāhapāvitasthale. That perfectly embodies this rhythmic precision. Every single syllable is carefully placed to create a very distinct cadence, a flow.
You can really feel that rhythm.
Absolutely. This inherent musicality and the rapid, energetic flow that this meter creates are precisely why it's so conducive to musical recitation. It allows for this dynamic interplay of speed and pauses, making it a favorite for classical vocalists who can truly bring its rhythmic power to life. It's almost as if the very structure of the words carries the energy of the divine dance it describes.
That rhythmic precision really does come through. It's almost a physical experience when you listen to it, isn't it?
It is.
But I think a common point of confusion for many listeners, myself included sometimes, is distinguishing between a stotram and a mantra. We hear both terms in spiritual contexts all the time.
Very common question.
Are they interchangeable, or is there a fundamental, perhaps even an experiential difference between them?
It's a crucial distinction, definitely, and one that often causes, well, misunderstanding. While both are sacred compositions designed for spiritual practice, They serve very different primary purposes and have distinct structures. And this leads to different forms of engagement.
Okay, so how are they different?
Mantras are typically much shorter, very concise sacred syllables or phrases. Take, for example, Om Namah Shivaya, which is a classic 5-syllable mantra. Their purpose is primarily for repeated, concentrated chanting, a practice known as japa.
Japa.
This japa is undertaken for deep inner absorption, what we call manan, or contemplation, and for meditation. Mantras are essentially vibrational tools.
Vibrational tools.
Interesting. They are designed to create a specific internal resonance, a profound vibrational frequency within the practitioner. This helps them connect with particular divine energy or a specific truth, or maybe to achieve a state of inner transformation.
So it's about focus, repetition.
Exactly. They are about sustained, repetitive focus, often leading into a meditative state.
And a stotram.
A stotram, in contrast, is generally much longer. It comprises multiple verses, often employing various poetic meters like we discussed with the Panchachamarvrita.
Right, the 16 syllables.
Its purpose is path, or recitation, primarily as a form of worship and praise. Now, while this particular composition, the Shiva Tandav Stotra, does mention the sacred name of the deity Shiva, which is itself a mantra within its verses, the work itself in its entirety is definitively a stotram. It's an elaborate poetic hymn of adoration.
Okay, so it's a hymn, not just a chant.
Precisely. So, you might find a mantra within a stotram, but the stotram as a whole is this extended expression of praise, unfolding a whole tapestry of divine attributes, rather than being a concentrated, repetitive chant purely for absorption.
So it's less about a focused, repetitive chant and more about an unfolding, kind of expansive tapestry of poetic devotion. That makes sense.
Well put.
And considering its length and poetic structure, it's really striking how globally popular this particular stotram has become. I mean, it feels like it's everywhere, captivating millions.
It truly is remarkable.
What do you think attributes to this widespread recognition, this deep resonance with so many people, especially maybe in our modern, often quite chaotic world?
Well, its fame is multifaceted, I'd say. But it primarily stems, I believe, from its captivating rhythm and sheer musicality.
The sound itself.
Yes. The Panchamarvrita, as we noted, with its rapid, energetic flow, it truly resonates deeply with listeners. It creates an almost visceral connection.
Visceral, yeah.
The composition vividly describes the fierce, powerful Tandav dance of the deity. The dance, right?
And this inherent caṇḍata, a term that implies both fierceness and intensity, and uttapva, meaning forcefulness.
Caṇḍata and uttapva.
These qualities are directly translated into the energetic and powerful experience you get when listening to or reciting the composition. It's as if the sound itself embodies the dynamic cosmic dance.
So the feeling matches the description.
Exactly. To give you a clearer contrast, maybe think about lasha, which is the graceful, delicate dance of the divine consort, Parvati, that's characterized by beauty and subtlety.
Okay.
The Tandav, however, is vigorous. It's forceful, a dance of cosmic proportions, and the stotram's meter just perfectly captures that essence, filling the listener with a sense of dynamism, raw energy, and this profound cosmic rhythm.
Wow.
And beyond the sheer musicality, its profound popularity also undeniably stems from the deep reverence and, frankly, the universal appeal of the deity it praises.
That's a huge factor, surely. Absolutely. This deity holds a unique and special place in the hearts of devotees across incredibly diverse cultures worldwide. He represents transformation, power, asceticism, in a way that really transcends boundaries. The stotram offers this direct, powerful sonic link to that universal reverence.
That makes profound sense.
Yes.
The form perfectly mirrors the subject, creating this almost inescapable connection for the listener.
Precisely.
But there's also a widely circulated, very dramatic story about the composition's origins. It's often said, you hear the story a lot.
Yes, the mountain story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That this powerful stotram was created by a specific powerful king under incredibly dire circumstances. What do our sources say about this traditional narrative? And how do they maybe illuminate its deeper meaning?
Our sources indeed recount this powerful traditional narrative. It attributes the stotram to a mighty king who, in a moment of, well, immense arrogance and pride, attempted to lift a sacred mountain, Mount Kailash.
Right, trying to move them out?
Yes. This act, clearly driven by ego, was met with swift divine intervention. The story goes that the deity, Shiva, simply pressed down on the mountain with a single toe.
Just a toe?
Just a toe, trapping the king's arms beneath it. And in that moment of intense anguish, pain, and sudden, crushing humility,
I can only imagine.
a torrent of praise poured forth from the king's cries of suffering. This, according to tradition, is the genesis of the Shiva Tandav Stotra, born from pain and humility.
Wow, what a story.
It is. However, our sources also provide a scholarly perspective, which adds a fascinating, perhaps complicating, layer of understanding.
Okay, what's a scholarly view?
Well, from a linguistic and historical viewpoint, the composition's manuscripts and the earliest commentaries we have, they don't appear to be truly ancient.
Oh.
They likely date to the medieval period. There's a notable absence of the kind of very long compound words, which are so characteristic of the Tandav Stotra.
You know, those complex words.
You don't find those in the same way in much older texts, like the Valmiki Ramayana, or the works of classical poets like Kalidasa from earlier eras.
So the language style seems later.
The linguistic analysis subtly suggests a later authorship than the king from the traditional narrative.
Interesting. So what does that mean for the story itself?
Well, it brings us to a profound spiritual question regarding the king's act itself. Was his attempt to lift the mountain driven purely by ego? Or was there perhaps underneath it all a sort of nascent, passionate longing for a glimpse of the divine?
Could it be both?
Possibly. Some narratives suggest that a divine gatekeeper, Nandi, had previously prevented the king's access to the deity, perhaps fueling a misguided desire.
Frustration leading to arrogance.
It could be interpreted that way. While a certain, perhaps desperate longing for divine presence might have existed, the primary driver, as explicitly highlighted by the narrative's outcome and the context,
Seems to be arrogance.
it appears to be arrogance, yes. And this leads us directly to a core, fundamental spiritual principle that our sources really emphasize. The divine often intervenes to shatter the ego in devotees.
Shatter the ego. That sounds harsh.
It can sound harsh, but it's generally seen not as a punishment, but as a benevolent, compassionate act.
Oh, so.
Because ego, when it takes root, can become this formidable obstacle to true spiritual progress, to genuine connection. When this ego surfaces, the divine, in its wisdom, intervenes to humble the devotee, not to break them,
Okay.
but to open a clear, unencumbered path for sincere devotion and profound realization. This divine humbling, though it might be initially painful.
Like having your arms crushed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's ultimately seen as a gift, preventing the ego from becoming a permanent barrier to spiritual growth.
That's a truly transformative perspective. Okay, so if the traditional authorship is debated, or if the author's character, at least in that initial moment, was flawed, what does this all mean for us, the listeners, the devotees today? Should we dismiss the composition? How do we reconcile these, well, details with its profound spiritual power?
That's a vital question, really, and it directly addresses how we should approach ancient wisdom in general, not just this stotram.
Right.
Our sources bring forth an ancient, timeless teaching that offers profound guidance here. It's a Sanskrit verse. Yukti yuktam vacho grayam balad api sukat api.
Okay, what does that mean?
It translates, roughly, to a well-reasoned, logical, and spiritually beneficial statement should be accepted, even if it comes from a child or a parrot.
Even from a parrot.
Even from a parrot.
Yeah.
And conversely, the teaching continues, yuktihinam vachas tyajam vridadapi shukadapi, meaning a statement devoid of reason or one that is spiritually unhelpful or harmful should be discarded, even if it comes from a revered elder or a supposedly great sage.
Wow. Focus on the message, not the messenger.
Precisely. We apply this very principle to the Shiva Tandav Stotram itself. The inherent goodness, the profound spiritual power, the deep wisdom, the devotional inspiration embedded within the text. That is what truly matters.
The content itself.
Yes. These qualities should be embraced regardless of who composed it or under what exact circumstances. If the content uplifts you, if it inspires devotion in your heart, if it deepens your understanding of the divine, and if it leads you towards greater spiritual awareness, then its authorship becomes secondary.
Secondary to its impact.
Secondary to its intrinsic value and its powerful spiritual impact. The message, in this case, profoundly transcends the messenger, and this allows us, you, everyone, to fully appreciate its spiritual contribution without getting bogged down in historical debates that we might never definitively resolve.
That's a liberating and incredibly insightful way to approach these texts. The message transcends the messenger, and its utility, its benefit, is paramount. Okay. Now that we understand what a stotram is, its unique structure, and a little bit about its background and how to approach its origins, let's truly dive into the heart of its spiritual experience. The very nature of Tandava itself. When we hear the word Tandav, our minds often conjure images of a forceful, maybe even violent cosmic dance, frequently associated with destruction, right?
That's the common association, yes. Destruction and dissolution.
But is it just about destruction? What is its deeper spiritual significance? Is it truly an end, a finality? Or is it a beginning, or maybe something else entirely, something more cyclical?
This is where the spiritual essence of the stotram truly unfolds, I think. Traditionally, Tandav is indeed associated with pralaya, which means cosmic dissolution or annihilation. Its counterpart, lasya, the graceful, delicate dance of the divine consort Parvati, is linked to shrishti, or creation.
Okay, dissolution and creation, Tandav and lasya.
But, and this is crucial, if we step back and connect this to the larger cosmic picture, we realize that pralaya is never just an end. It profoundly contains within it the seed of shrishti.
The seed of creation within destruction.
Exactly. It's not a finality, but a dynamic regenerative force. So Tandav represents not merely dissolution, but also the immense inherent potential for new creation.
Okay, that changes things.
It embodies the cyclical nature of existence, the continuous process of creation, sustenance, and dissolution that perpetually unfolds, both in the vast universe and, within our own personal lives, too.
So it's happening all the time on different scales?
All the time.
Okay.
This dance is therefore a powerful symbol of dynamic transformation. It's a potent force that clears away the old, the stagnant, the outmoded, to make way for the new, the vibrant, and the necessary.
Like clearing the ground for new growth.
Precisely. Think of a forest fire. It seems purely destructive, right?
Yeah.
Yet it clears the way for new growth, allows certain seeds to sprout that couldn't otherwise. Tandav is that fundamental, relentless, and ultimately seen as benevolent cycle of cosmic clearing and renewal.
Benevolent clearing. I like that framing.
It's also fascinating to note the origin of the term Tandav itself. Our sources clarify that the term doesn't just refer to any fierce stance.
Oh.
It specifically originates from the revered sage Tandu.
Tandu, okay.
It is believed that this sage learned and then innovated this particular dance form directly from the deity Shiva, as described in ancient treatises on performing arts, like the Natya Shastra.
So a sage learned it from the god and formalized it.
Exactly. And this highlights a crucial point. Even the most powerful cosmic energies are often made accessible, formalized for human understanding and practice, through the wisdom of enlightened beings. Tandu formalized this divine expression, allowing it to be understood and even emulated, at least in a symbolic sense, by humans.
That adds such a rich layer of meaning. It's not just a chaotic dance of destruction, but this dynamic rebirth, formalized and made accessible.
Okay, let's unpack this even further then. The stotram itself paints these incredible, vivid pictures of the deity using really striking imagery. We hear about matted locks, like a forest in which rivers flow, serpents used as ornaments, and that powerful image of a blue throat. Are these simply poetic descriptions meant to evoke awe and wonder, or do they carry much deeper, specific spiritual meanings that are meant to guide us?
Oh, they are absolutely not mere poetic flourishes. Not at all.
Yeah.
They are profoundly rich spiritual symbols, each one a teaching in itself. Let's delve into them.
Please do. Let's start with the river and the hare.
Right, the Ganga and the hare.
Yeah.
Our sources explain that when the mighty river Ganga descended from the heavens to earth, it possessed immense veg force, velocity.
Like unimaginable force.
So powerful it could have devastated the planet, to soften its impact, to make it receivable by the earth and its beings without overwhelming them.
The deity held the entire river within his matted locks.
The whole river, in his hair.
The whole river. Spiritually, this symbolizes the deity's absolute control over the most powerful cosmic forces, forces that could easily be destructive if unleashed without divine wisdom and compassion.
Managing immense power.
Exactly. It's a profound act of divine benevolence. It demonstrates how immense divine grace, which can often feel overwhelming in its raw, untamed form, is tempered, modulated, and made accessible so that devotees, and indeed all of creation, can receive it without being overwhelmed or harmed.
So it's about making grace receivable.
Precisely. It speaks to a divine wisdom that manages even the most potent energies for the ultimate welfare of all. It's like a parent cushioning a child's fall in a cosmic sense.
That's a beautiful analogy. Okay, what about the snakes? Serpents as ornaments, that's a striking image.
Very striking. This imagery points directly to the deity's digambar nature.
Digambar.
Meaning sky-clad or unclad. It signifies a being who is utterly unbound by worldly possessions or material adornments. Much like a supreme ascetic or a yogi who has renounced all material wealth and external trappings, the snakes themselves, formidable, often feared, potent creatures.
Definitely potent.
They represent the deity's mastery over even the most dangerous and powerful energies. This includes primal, instinctual forces, fear itself.
So wearing fear as an ornament.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
His clothing is often described as ashvibhuti, symbolizing detachment from the ephemeral, recognition of the impermanence of the physical body. And his garment is sometimes the skin of a tiger.
Right.
Further emphasizing his profound asceticism, his wild, untamed nature, and his complete transcendence of fear. It's about conquering one's inner fears and attachments and then wearing them almost as symbols of mastery.
Wow. Deep. And the blue-throat. Nilakantha.
Ah, Nilakantha. This is perhaps one of the most powerful symbols of self-sacrifice and compassion in the entire tradition.
The story of the poison.
Exactly. This refers to the well-known narrative where the deity consumed a potent poison, the halahala, that emerged during the churning of the cosmic ocean, the Samudra Manthan.
A poison that could destroy everything.
It threatened all of existence. He held it in his throat, didn't swallow it, didn't spit it out to protect the world, all the gods and demons and beings from its destructive effects. He saved everyone from annihilation.
And it turned his throat blue.
And as a result, his throat turned blue. This symbolizes the profound divine ability to absorb and neutralize negativity, suffering, poison, pain, not just for oneself, but crucially, for the welfare of others.
Taking on the world's suffering.
It speaks to enduring hardship for the universal good. It embodies unconditional compassion and the incredible power to transform even deadly poison into something that causes no harm to others. So you see, each of these images, the Ganga, the serpents, the blue throat, is a profound teaching, a window into divine attributes that we can contemplate and perhaps in our own small ways strive to emulate.
Each symbol truly unpacks a whole universe of meaning. It's incredible. And thinking about the blue throat, absorbing poison, and the origin story of the stutram itself, where suffering seems to lead to this powerful composition, it raises an important, deeply human question for me.
Go on.
Why do we, as humans, so often find ourselves turning to the divine, praying, seeking help, precisely when we are in pain or distress? It seems to be such a universal human tendency, doesn't it?
Okay.
Across all cultures, all times.
It is, without a doubt, a universal and profoundly human tendency. Our sources quote a timeless couplet, very famous, that articulates this truth beautifully. Dukamen sumiran sabkare, ukamen kare nakoi.
Okay.
To sukamen sumiran kare, tu dukakahekoho.
Can you translate that?
It translates roughly to, if everyone remembers God in sorrow, but no one remembers God in happiness, if one remembered in happiness, why would sorrow ever come?
Wow, that hits home.
It does. This couplet highlights a profound, even maybe a raw, truth about human nature. It's almost instinctive for us to seek solace, connection, divine intervention during times of hardship.
Like a default setting.
Almost. Just as a child instinctively cries out for its mother when hungry or afraid or hurt. When we're faced with pain, difficulty, existential uncertainty, our inherent vulnerability makes us reach out. Reach out for a higher power, for something beyond ourselves. It's an innate impulse for comfort, for guidance.
And does that cry get heard?
And this cry, our tradition assures us, is met with profound divine benevolence. Our ancient texts speak of the divine as Bhakta-vatsal.
Bhakta-vatsal.
It's a deeply evocative term. It signifies an immense, profound, nurturing love for devotees, often likened to a cow's deep protective affection for its newborn calf.
Like a mother cow and her calf.
Yeah.
That's very tender.
It is. Just as a mother instinctively rushes to her child in distress, the divine responds to sincere calls from a devotee in hardship, acknowledging and embracing their suffering. This concept reassures us that our pain, our sincere pleas, are not only heard, but are embraced with boundless compassion.
That's incredibly comforting.
It is. However, the couplet also offers a higher spiritual aspiration. It presents a challenge to our typical human conditioning.
The second part of it.
Yes. It suggests that if one could cultivate constant remembrance of the divine, not just in sorrow, but equally in joy and prosperity in every single moment of life.
When things are good, too.
Exactly. Then sorrow might not even arise in the same way, or, perhaps more profoundly, one could achieve a state of equanimity, a deep inner balance.
Samatvam.
Yes, samatvam. Towards both pleasure and pain, effectively transcending the dualities of worldly experience. So the ideal, the aspiration, is to maintain that sacred connection Always, not just when life feels difficult. This transforms our entire existence into an act of devotion.
So if the continuous remembrance, that constant connection, and particularly this deep understanding of the composition's meaning, if these are truly key to experiencing its power and perhaps even achieving that kind of equanimity, how do we practically engage with this stotram? How do we move beyond just listening to its beautiful rhythm? How do we truly unlock its profound spiritual benefits?
That's the absolutely crucial question, isn't it? Because true spiritual engagement has to transcend mere sensory experience, however beautiful that might be.
Right. Have to go deeper.
If we want to genuinely connect with this profound work, simple recitation or just listening, while wonderful in itself, is often not enough for transformation. Deep engagement, the kind that really changes you, requires ekatmaka, a profound oneness, a complete merger, you could say, with each word and its meaning. The true benefit, the genuine spiritual awakening, and the deep anand, that spiritual joy or bliss, comes from understanding the meaning, what we call arthikipavana.
Arthikipavana, the feeling of the meaning.
Exactly. Understanding the feeling, the essence, the meaning of every single word and phrase within the stotram.
Every single word. That sounds like a lot.
It can seem daunting, but it's incredibly rewarding. Let me give you a more in-depth illustrative example, building on what we touched upon earlier. Let's take that very first verse again, which is so widely recognized. jaṭāṭavīgalajjalapravāhapāvitasthale, gale'valambya, lambitāṃ, bhujaṅgatuṅgamālikām.
When we just hear this, it's beautiful, hypnotic even. But when you understand the arthikipavana, it transforms into a living, breathing experience in your mind.
How so? Let's break it down.
Okay. Jata refers to the deity's matted locks, often associated with powerful ascetics, right?
Right.
Our sources explain that jata comes from the root jat-sang-hate, which means to gather or to coalesce. So it's not just hair. It represents a vast, collected spiritual mass of energy or consciousness.
Oh, wow. Okay, not just hair.
Then atavi means a forest. But why a forest here? It comes from the root atan, meaning to roam or to wander freely.
Oh.
So the jaṭāṭavī, the forest of matted locks, symbolizes this vast, uninhibited cosmic expanse, a space within which immense cosmic forces like the Ganga can reside and wander freely without constraint. It implies infinite possibilities and untamed power held within.
That's incredible depth from just two words, isn't it? Then galat means flowing or dripping. Jalaprava is the flow of water, the Ganga. Pavitasthale signifies a purified sacred place. His locks are purified by the sacred river flowing through them.
Okay.
Gale'valambya, lambitāṃ describes something hanging and swaying around the neck, and bhujaṅga is a serpent. Tunga means lofty or high, powerful. Mālikām is a garland.
So a garland of powerful snakes.
Exactly. So the line paints this vivid picture. The deity whose matted locks, vast as a boundless forest, are purified by the sacred river flowing within them, and around whose neck hangs and sways a garland of high, powerful serpents. You can almost visualize it, feel the immense power and the profound purity simultaneously.
Becomes a meditative image.
It does. Now let's take another powerful phrase from later in the stotram, just to show this principle again. Consider the line, Kishora Chandra Shakararati Putinkanama.
Okay.
Kishora Chandra. Kishora means young, and Chandra means moon, so the young crescent moon.
Right, the crescent moon on Shiva's head.
Precisely. Shahar means on the crest or on the head, so the deity with the young moon adorning his head. Ratya means love, devotion, attachment, delight.
Raitya.
Devotion.
Pratikamta means at every moment, constantly, continuously, and mama means my.
So my devotion constantly on the one with the moon.
Exactly. May my love and devotion be constantly fixed every single moment upon the deity who bears the young moon on his head. You see, it's not just a description anymore.
No, it's a prayer.
It's a deep, continuous prayer for unending devotion. When you understand this, your recitation shifts. It's no longer just sounding out beautiful words. It becomes a heartfelt, intentional prayer. You feel that continuous attachment and love being expressed. This understanding creates that profound moon, that deep internal resonance that goes far beyond mere auditory pleasure. It impacts your very being.
It's incredible how knowing the individual meaning of each word and phrase can truly transform a recitation, from just sound into this truly immersive spiritual experience. Almost like you're building a sacred structure word by word inside yourself. That's a beautiful way to put it.
It genuinely creates that dun, that deep internal echo you mentioned. Does this level of understanding also impact how one, well, expresses the stotram, how one performs it, maybe in a spiritual sense.
Absolutely, and profoundly so. This deep understanding is precisely what unlocks what is known in the traditions as sattvic apine.
Sattvic apine. What's that?
Authentic, heartfelt expression. True emotional embodiment. To help illustrate this, let's use the analogy of a classical singer, or maybe an actor.
Okay.
A classical singer who has a deep understanding of Sanskrit, who has truly internalized the meaning of the verses they're singing, will convey a vastly deeper bhava, the emotion, the inner feeling.
Right, the feeling behind the note.
Exactly. They'll convey a deeper bhava when they sing a stotram, compared to someone who only knows the tune and the pronunciation, but not the profound meaning behind the words. The sound might still be beautiful, but the emotional depth, the spiritual transmission, will be different.
I can see that.
Similarly, think of an actor who truly embodies a character, internalizing their emotions, their motivations. They might shed genuine tears on stage. Why? Because they feel the character's pain or joy. They aren't just feigning it.
It's real for them in that moment.
It becomes real. Now, ancient Indian performance arts identify 4 types of abhinay, or expression. There's anjik, physical expression, gestures; vachik, verbal expression, the way you speak; ahari expression through costume, makeup, adornment; and then there's sattvic.
The 4th type.
Sattvic abhinay is true emotional embodiment. While the first 3 are largely external, sattvic abhinay is internal. True sattvic bhava, that authentic feeling, arises when the meaning is completely internalized, when it truly permeates your consciousness.
When you really get it.
When you really get it. Our sources explain that when this happens, your mind mirror, the man mukur, becomes purified and clear.
Mind mirror.
Just as a clean mirror reflects your image perfectly, without distortion, a mind purified by deep understanding can truly reflect and embody the essence, the devotion, the bhava of the stotram. This transforms recitation from a mechanical act, however beautiful, into a heartfelt spiritual offering. It aligns your mind, body, and spirit with the praise and, crucially, with the divine essence being invoked. It becomes a complete, integrated experience.
That's incredibly powerful, a complete immersion where your inner state actually aligns with the words you're uttering. But does this energy, this feeling, this deep resonance, does it truly remain with us after the recitation is over? What are the long-term spiritual effects? Does it leave a lasting impact?
The effects are indeed profound and, according to the tradition, lasting. While the direct anubhuti, that immediate, intense experience or feeling, is most powerfully felt during the recitation itself.
Right, in the moment.
Repeated and understanding-filled practice creates what's called a sanskar.
Sanskar, I've heard that term, like an impression.
Exactly. A deep, indelible impression or imprint on the subconscious mind, often referred to as chitta, or aftertan in different schools of thought. And this sanskar is not fleeting. It is considered chirastai.
Chirastai.
Everlasting, permanent. It doesn't just dissipate once the sound fades or you stop reciting.
So it stays with you. How does it manifest?
This accumulated sanskar, built up over time through dedicated practice with understanding, can manifest later in various subtle yet powerful ways. You might experience sudden, profound insights that seem to come from nowhere, or meaningful dreams that offer guidance or clarity, or perhaps powerful inspirations that shape your thoughts and actions in a positive direction, maybe without you even consciously connecting it back to the stotram.
So it works subtly.
Very subtly, yet profoundly. It influences one's thoughts, reactions, overall being. Over time, the essence of the stotram, its spiritual content, the feelings of devotion, the wisdom it evokes, integrates into one's very being. It becomes an inherent, deeply ingrained part of who you are. It's like planting a seed of spiritual understanding in the garden of your mind. It continues to grow and blossom within you, yielding lasting spiritual dividends long after the conscious practice ends.
That's a truly beautiful concept, a permanent spiritual imprint that continues to nurture you from within. Given the profound impact you've described, are there any specific recommendations or guidelines for reciting the composition to maybe maximize this impact? Are there any rules of engagement, so to speak, for this powerful composition? Or can one simply pick it up and begin wherever they are?
That's an important practical consideration, definitely, and it's where stotram recitation generally differs quite a bit from the stricter protocols often associated with, say, mantra sadhana.
Okay, how so?
For a stotram like this, the rules are relatively few, which makes it wonderfully accessible to a broader audience,
That's good to hear.
However, there are certainly recommendations rooted in ancient wisdom and tradition for optimal benefit. Our sources specifically mention Pradosh Kal as a particularly auspicious time for recitation.
Pradosh Kal, when is that?
It's the period of dusk, the twilight hour, that time when day transitions into night, sometimes called Samjoka or Godhuli Bala.
Ah, twilight. Why then?
Spiritually, this time is considered potent because it's a liminal space, a moment of transition. The energies are thought to be heightened, more conducive to spiritual practices and connection.
Makes sense. Any other recommendations?
Ideally, it should be recited after performing some form of worship or arcana of the deity, Shiva in this case. This helps to further align one's intention, focus the mind, and create a sacred atmosphere.
Setting the stage mentally and environmentally.
Exactly. Now, just to reiterate the distinction we made earlier, mantra sadhana typically involves far more stringent rules.
Right, you mentioned that.
Things like specific numbers of repetitions, often counted meticulously on a rosary or japamala. Fixed postures like Padmasana, lotus pose, or Sukhasana, easy pose, to maintain physical stability and focus. Purified spaces, often designated as shushtan.
More discipline required.
Often, yes. And mantra satana is frequently performed with eyes closed in quiet or even purely mental chanting mansa jap or upanshu mantra, where one speaks very softly, almost inaudibly. Stotra recitation, on the other hand, is generally a more open form of path or recitation. It's often performed aloud, sometimes in front of an idol or a picture or within any sacred space. So while dedication, sincerity, and especially understanding are absolutely key, the Shiva Tandav Stotra is generally more flexible in its practice than the rigorous discipline often associated with strict mantra sadhana. This accessibility allows many more people to engage with its power.
It's fascinating how different practices have different entry points and, well, requirements. This composition is, of course, called the Tandav Stotra. So it clearly describes the Tandav dance, which we've explored as this powerful force of both dissolution and creation.
The central theme.
But does it show only this fierce, energetic aspect of the divine? Or does it also unveil other, perhaps softer or more intricate facets of the divine being it praises? Does it give a fuller picture?
That's a wonderful question, and it really speaks to the comprehensive nature of this stotram. While the fierce dynamic Tandav is indeed a prominent theme, vividly portrayed in certain verses.
Like the ones describing the drum.
Exactly. Like the powerful descriptions of the deity's damaru drum echoing with dum-dum-dum, ninādavatta damaru cakāra caṇḍatāṇḍavaṃ tanotu śivaḥ.
Which means?
Meaning, roughly, as the drum vibrates intensely with dum-dum-dum-dum, may that fiercely dancing Shiva expand auspiciousness for us all. It captures that intense energy.
It really does.
But the composition is far from one-dimensional. It beautifully describes various other forms and havas, different expressions, moods, or emotions of the deity. It's actually a very multifaceted portrait when you look closely.
Okay, like what else does it show?
Well, for example, there are deeply evocative verses that depict the deity's sacred marriage with the divine consort Parvati.
The wedding.
Yes. These lines highlight the joyous sounds of the wedding ceremony and portray the consort's profound beauty and loving expressions. They use phrases like vamlakna, meaning one with beautiful, captivating eyes, referring to Parvati,
Wow.
or they allude to vivakalikdvani, the auspicious sounds and music associated with the marriage rites. This aspect adds a dimension of domesticity, partnership, serene companionship to the divine. It shows a gentler, more relational side.
That's a lovely contrast to the fierce dance.
Isn't it? Furthermore, the composition includes verses that portray the shringar, which is the aesthetic, the beauty, even the romantic aspect of the divine.
Shringar, like romance.
Yes, or aesthetic delight. These lines describe the divine consort's playful, loving glances, phrases like Dara dara nendini vilasa bandhu banduras pramodamanos.
That sounds beautiful.
It describes how these expressions, these loving interactions, fill the deity Shiva with delight and joy. This introduces the beauty of divine love, sacred partnership, and even a profound aesthetic appreciation into the worship. It allows devotees to connect with the divine through the lens of divine romance and beauty, if that resonates with them.
So, fierce dancer, loving husband.
Exactly. And other verses highlight the deity's Vaibhav, his sheer grandeur, glory, and magnificence. They describe his cosmic power, his supreme lordship over the universe, his role as the ultimate reality.
Cosmic aspect.
Yes. So, while the Tandav is a central and undeniable theme, the stotram actually paints a remarkably comprehensive and multifaceted portrait of the divine. It allows the devotee to focus on and experience various aspects, the fierce, the gentle, the romantic, the cosmic, the ascetic, depending on their personal devotion, their emotional state at the time, and their evolving understanding. It's truly a complete devotional experience wrapped up in one composition.
This deep dive has truly revealed so much. The spiritual wealth, the profound layers of meaning, the multi-dimensional nature within this single, powerful composition. It's incredible. But our source material, as you've hinted, goes even further. It offers essential pathways to deepen this understanding and unlock even more profound insights, particularly through specialized scholarly works that explain these layers. You've spoken so eloquently about the critical importance of understanding every single word, cultivating that ekatmata, that oneness, to unlock the true spiritual power. Our sources make it clear that this level of deep understanding often comes from a long, revered tradition of commentaries or tikas.
Yes, the commentary tradition is fundamental.
For our listeners, why are these specialized works so vital? Why are they so crucial for truly unlocking the spiritual power and the comprehensive wisdom of these ancient texts, like the Tandav Stotra? What do they offer that maybe a direct reading or even a simple translation might miss?
They are, quite simply, absolutely vital. You could say they are the very bedrock of deep textual understanding in classical Sanskrit literature and philosophy. The tradition of classical Sanskrit commentaries known interchangeably as tikas, bayas, or vyakyanas.
Tikas.
Pashyas.
Oh, great.
It involves a meticulous, systematic dissection of ancient texts. Their primary purpose is to unpack every single word, every phrase, every grammatical nuance, every contextual layer, leaving absolutely no room for doubt or ambiguity about the profound meaning intended.
Going beyond the surface.
Way beyond. They go far beyond a simple translation, which, while helpful, can often be superficial or miss crucial subtleties.
So what kind of things do they explain?
Well, these commentaries provide an exhaustive range of insights. They offer comprehensive grammatical analysis, tracing the precise etymology of words back to their Sanskrit roots, explaining how complex compound structures, those long words in the Tandav Stotra, are formed and what they imply.
Breaking down the grammar.
Exactly. They provide crucial historical and mythological context by drawing direct references from a vast body of literature, ancient epics like the Ramayana and Mahabharata, the Puranas, other sacred texts like the Vedas and Upanishads, and even philosophical treatises.
Connecting it to the wider tradition.
Precisely. They present rigorous logical arguments, often engaging with and refuting differing interpretations that may have arisen over centuries.
Addressing controversies.
Yes, and then offering a reasoned, authoritative conclusion based on scriptural evidence and logical consistency.
Wow, very thorough.
Extremely. For instance, our sources reveal how these commentaries illuminate words we've discussed, like jata. It's not just matted hair. The commentary might explain its root jat-sang-hate, meaning to gather or to coalesce, suggesting a concentration of spiritual power.
Right, we talked about that.
Similarly, atavi, forest, is explored as coming from atan, meaning to roam, highlighting that unconstrained, infinite space within the locks. This level of etymological and grammatical detail, which might seem academic on the surface, actually illuminates even common words with deeper symbolic and spiritual meaning. It profoundly enriches your understanding of the imagery and the divine attributes being praised.
It gives it color and depth.
Absolutely. Furthermore, a good commentary delves deeply into the multiple profound meanings of the deity's very name, Shiva. It's not merely a proper noun in this context. It embodies various spiritual truths and attributes.
Like what?
For example, a commentary might explore that Shita Sukhamaneti Śivam means one with whom a person sleeps peacefully, implying ultimate rest, peace, hence auspiciousness.
Shiva as auspiciousness.
Yes. Another interpretation is Nityam Shivam Astasyati Shiva, one in whom welfare or auspiciousness is eternal, ever present. Or Shiti Ashubham Shiva, one who destroys inauspiciousness, negativity, evil.
Destroyer of the negative.
This expansive understanding of the name itself, which appears throughout the stotram, deeply enriches the spiritual experience. Each utterance of Shiva becomes this multi-layered invocation of beneficence, protection, liberation from negativity, ultimate peace.
That adds so much weight to just saying the name.
It really does. And crucially, these commentaries provide the essential background stories. They explain the why behind the vivid imagery within the stotram.
The context.
The context. For example, they might elaborate on the full narrative of how Shiva burned Kama, the god of desire, to ashes with his third eye, or why he wore the skin of a specific powerful elephant demon, the Gajasura, after vanquishing him. These narratives provide the vital context that allows the imagery to come alive, making it tangible and comprehensible.
So you understand why he has those attributes?
Exactly. This contextual understanding deepens comprehension immeasurably and fosters a profound emotional and spiritual connection to the text. Without these meticulous commentaries, honestly, much of the subtle spiritual import, the layers of symbolism, and the true transformative power of these ancient compositions would remain hidden, lost to time and superficial understanding. They are truly like having a master teacher sitting beside you explaining every single nuance.
It sounds like an absolutely invaluable resource, really.
Right.
A true intellectual and spiritual pilgrimage through the text itself. Our source material also points to a very significant new scholarly work, relatively new, designed specifically to bring this level of deeper access to the Shiva Tandav Stotra to a wider, more modern audience. Can you tell us more about this specific work, its unique structure, and how it aims to achieve this profound depth of understanding for so many people today?
Indeed, this is described as a monumental and incredibly timely effort in our sources. It's a remarkable two-part literary work dedicated precisely to this purpose, bridging that gap between deep scholarship and wider accessibility.
2 parts. How does that work?
It comprises a detailed classical-style Sanskrit commentary paired with its corresponding accessible explanation in a widely spoken contemporary language, in this case, Hindi.
Okay, Sanskrit and Hindi. Tell me about the Sanskrit part first.
The first part is a comprehensive Sanskrit commentary, very appropriately titled Shiva Tandav Talika.
Talika, what does that mean?
Well, Talika literally means a clapper or something used to keep rhythm, perhaps referring to the rhythm of the Tandava itself. But it also subtly alludes, as our sources note, to the mythical divine gatekeeper, Nandi.
Nandi the bull.
Who, tradition says, sometimes claps rhythmically to enhance and accompany Shiva's divine dance. So the title itself is evocative. This commentary is written in the classical, rigorous style of tikas, providing that exhaustive word-by-word analysis, intricate grammatical insights, and supporting references drawn from a vast array of ancient texts, Puranas, Upanishads, Vedic scriptures, philosophical texts. It is meticulously designed for serious Sanskrit scholars, dedicated spiritual practitioners, sadhakas, and academics who wish to dive into the most minute, profound details and explore every conceivable layer of the composition's meaning. It's the deep dive for specialists.
Okay, the expert level. What about the second part?
The second part is the accompanying explanation, thoughtfully titled Shiva Tandav Bhutini.
Bhutini, meaning?
Bhutini means that which illuminates knowledge, or that which awakens understanding. This serves as an accessible, lucid guide. It's for non-Sanskrit scholars, for the general devotee, for anyone curious to deepen their understanding beyond a surface reading. It translates and elaborates on the profound insights found within the highly technical Sanskrit Talika commentary.
So it unpacks the Sanskrit commentary.
Precisely. It unpacks it into a widely understood contemporary language, Hindi in this case, making the deep wisdom of the Talika available to a much broader audience, but crucially without sacrificing the scholarly depth and accuracy.
That sounds incredibly useful. What makes it different from just a translation?
That's the key differentiator, as powerfully highlighted in our sources. It goes far, far beyond simple, superficial translations. Simple translations might give you a general sense of a verse's meaning, maybe the gist. But they invariably miss the rich layers of etymology, the profound symbolism embedded in word choices, the contextual narratives that inform the imagery, and the nuanced spiritual implications. This two-part work, however, offers a comprehensive, detailed commentary experience, even in the Hindi part. It's akin to having that skilled teacher meticulously explain every nuance of a complex subject, patiently guiding you through its intricacies.
Step by step.
Step by step. It unpacks every compound word, explains the why behind specific divine descriptions like the blue throat or the snakes, and provides all the essential historical and mythological context drawn from the Talika. This allows readers, regardless of their prior Sanskrit knowledge, to dive as deep as they wish into the meaning and, crucially, to derive greater anand, that profound joy, spiritual satisfaction, and a heightened sense of connection from their recitation and understanding of the stotram.
More understanding equals more joy, more connection.
That's the principle. The spiritual purpose of this entire scholarly and devotional endeavor is truly paramount. The core aim of this remarkable work, as presented, is to profoundly enhance the anand, the spiritual bliss of devotees, by enabling a deeper, more informed, and truly heartfelt recitation and understanding of the Shiva Tandav Stotram, thereby immeasurably strengthening their connection with the divine source it praises.
So this isn't just about reading words on a page at all. It's about a complete, holistic immersion into the spiritual world that the composition unveils. It sounds like a true journey of Saraswati, the disciplined pursuit of wisdom and knowledge, blessed by Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom, a merging of intellect and devotion.
That's a perfect encapsulation of its essence, I think. Our sources confirm that this work is indeed presented as a unique, powerful blend. It has Vidwan reflecting the meticulous scholarly rigor, the immense intellectual wealth, and the deep knowledge of the Sanskrit tradition.
The scholar's contribution.
Yes. It's also infused with sadhanika prabhav, showing the profound effects and spiritual insights gained from years of disciplined personal engagement with the text by the author.
The practitioner's experience.
Exactly. And perhaps above all, it emanates bhakt-kapav. It is infused with the sincere, heartfelt emotion, the raw, profound devotion of a true spiritual seeker sharing their love for the subject.
The devotee's heart.
It truly reflects a holistic, integrated approach to sacred texts, marrying rigorous intellect with profound reverence to unlock the deepest spiritual insights for others. It's essentially an invitation to a transformed understanding, offered through scholarship and devotion combined.
This deep dive has truly given us so much to reflect on, so many layers to consider just within this one composition. Let's maybe try and wrap up with some final thoughts on how you, the listener, can carry this learning forward into your own life and understanding. #outro. So, we began this deep dive into the Shiva Tandav Stotra by exploring its undeniably powerful rhythm and its traditional, often quite dramatic, origin story involving the mountain.
The starting point for many.
We've since unpacked its true nature as a profound stotram, a multifaceted hymn of praise, clearly distinguishing it from a mantra, which is typically meant for that repetitive inner contemplation and absorption.
A key distinction.
We journeyed through the cosmic dance of Tandava itself, understanding its symbolic representations not just as destruction, but as the fundamental essence of dissolution, leading to continuous creation.
This cycle.
Embodying the dynamic, regenerative, cyclical nature of existence itself. We delved into the profound symbolism of the deity's matted locks holding the Ganga, the serpents as ornaments signifying mastery and detachment, and the blue throat as a symbol of ultimate compassion and self-sacrifice, each one a powerful teaching.
Deep lessons in each image.
We also looked at that universal human tendency of turning to the divine in distress, and how that cry, according to the tradition, is met with profound, unconditional divine love, that beautiful concept of bhakti-vatsal.
The divine embrace in sorrow.
And perhaps most importantly, we learned that the real spiritual power and transformative potential of this composition, and indeed maybe of many ancient sacred texts, truly lies in understanding its deeper meanings, in cultivating that ekatmaka,
that oneness,
that profound oneness with every single word and its underlying spiritual significance. When you engage with it in this way, it allows the composition to leave a lasting sanskar, a permanent spiritual imprint on your very spirit, subtly yet profoundly transforming your inner landscape and enriching your connection to the divine over time.
Beautifully summarized, and this deep dive, as comprehensive as we've tried to make it, is truly just an opening. It's an invitation, really, to a much larger personal exploration.
Just scratching the surface.
In a way, yes. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the true fowl, the real fruit of engaging with such profound ancient wisdom, it comes not just when you listen to it or even recite it. It comes when you let it deeply resonate within you.
Let it sink in.
Yes. When you allow it to prompt your own questions. When you consciously allow it to transform your own understanding, your own perspective on life, on the divine, on yourself. The real journey, the profound personal integration of this wisdom, truly begins now for you.
The starting point.
Exactly. And maybe consider this for a moment as a final thought to take away. If the divine, as depicted in the stotram, can contain the immense, overwhelming force of a mighty river like the Ganga within its matted locks,
right,
tempering that raw power with benevolence for the welfare of all existence, then what seemingly overwhelming forces or challenges in your own life, maybe intense emotions, daunting obstacles, vast aspirations, maybe even your own powerful potential, might you too learn to gently contain, manage, and ultimately transform with a deeper understanding of your own inner landscape and perhaps a sustained, conscious connection to profound, timeless wisdom like that found in the Shiva Tandav Stotra.